They're going to say, well, Mike, you talked about consumer sentiment. This is consumer confidence. The reason this is consumer confidence and not consumer sentiment is there are two measures. The consumer sentiment measure is not free. The consumer confidence measure is. Why? Because the granddaddy of all these is consumer sentiment, first compiled by the Survey Research Center at the University of Michigan. The Survey Research Center pioneered this kind of data, and the Survey Research Center at the University of Michigan survives by providing the data on a proprietary basis to subscribers. No subscribers, no income, no research center. So when they release the data each month, it's confidential. Historically, the data is available on consumer sentiment, but it's not available up to the minute. There's an outfit in New York called the Conference Board. It's a business group. They measured what they call consumer confidence, not quite the same. And it's available immediately free of charge. That's why we use it. Basically, the surveys work like this. You get ordinary people, not sophisticated professionals like us, just ordinary people. And you ask the ordinary folks, with respect to your own personal circumstances, your own personal financial and economic circumstances, are you a lot better off, a little better off, about the same, a little worse off, or a lot worse off than you were a year ago? And people answer whatever. And you put together an index. You create one with some year as the benchmark. So let's say your benchmark, I think this one is 1985 is 100. I think for consumer sentiment, the University of Michigan, I think 1966 is 100. And so you just get whatever the answers were in 1985. Let's say in 1985, so many people said they were a lot better off, so many people said they were a lot worse off, so many people said they were about the same, you know. And that's we call 100. And if it turns out better than that, that's this index is going to be above 100. If people say they're worse than that, it's below 100. And every month you report it. Now, at the end of that huge inflation, which we saw in the 1970s, what did Ronald Reagan ask the electorate in 1980 when he was running for office? What did how many people remember? How many people remember the election of 1980?
Are you better off now?
Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Well, take a look at 1980. Were people feeling better in 1980 than they had in 1976? The reason they weren't was that prices had risen so quickly, and prices were rising more rapidly than people's incomes, and therefore people felt worse off. So was it a good year to be the incumbent, or a good year to be the challenger? Challenger. When did President Reagan ask that question again?
4 years later.
4 years later. In those 4 years, had consumer sentiment improved?
Yeah.
Plenty. Right? Here's 1984. Here's 1980. So, everybody get it? Tell me, how was consumer sentiment in the late 90s? Great.
Great.
Why? Was inflation high or low? Low.
No.
Were employment opportunities strong or weak?
Strong.
There you are. Why do we care about consumer sentiment? Well, because consumer sentiment has an impact on what people buy. Not always consistently. Sometimes the relationship is strong. Sometimes it's weak. It depends on other things. Other things are going on. But we watch it, and it's watched carefully. Lately, as that consumer confidence been as strong as it was in the late 90s? No, it's not been as strong. And we have to keep our eye on it. It's been hovering around 100, not around 140, but 100 is not bad. How low did consumer confidence get at the depths of the recession? 60. Right? In 2001, 2002 got down there to 60. So, yes, sir.
How does the easy accessibility of credit impact?
The question was, what about the easy accessibility of credit? That broke the link to some extent. Because as you know, the extremely low interest rates that prevailed between 2000 and 2005 stimulated the residential construction, stimulated the housing market, stimulated the refinance of mortgages, which generated a lot of ability to buy, not just new construction, but also people use their homes like fountains of money and just took the equity out in order to buy. So to some extent, the relationship between consumer confidence and people's purchases was weakened just because of that ability. But I still will recommend you follow this. It's a very, very important indicator.